This morning, I would like there to be a remembrance. How many people have died defending our southern border up to date? How many people have been fired because they tried to? How many citizens have tried to go out there and they have been driven back because they tried to defend our borders? A nation without borders is no nation. And we need not only to defend our southern border with a line of fire. If somebody comes to your front door and they start breaking in, what do you do to them? Do you bring them in and, give them water and all that and feel sorry? No, you fight, you shoot them. They're in there to do harm. And Jesus said if you come in, you have to come in by the way of the gate. And the northern borders also need to be.
And these people don't understand that they're being used as political pawns too, because the people who would just allow them to come over the border don't really care about them. They're just, you know what I mean? They're like political pawns.
They are.
And that bugs me a little bit, because a lot of the people, there may be some good people, good family-oriented people coming, but for a better, chance at life. But they're being used by, the current administration, for political reasons.
Well, they may be, but they know they don't want somebody breaking in their house.
Right.
And let's stick with the principle here. I mean, somebody coming into your house may want a better way of life by moving in, but you can't go that way.
Oh, and I didn't mean that it was okay. I just meant
I know.
They obviously should go through the legal system. And I'm just kind of thinking that the left seems to think that they're going to be some political asset, like they're mindless people.
Yeah.
And I don't think they are. But they do need to go through the process legally of immigration.
Our nation is holy to the Lord. It's been dedicated holy since 1620. Those principles are unalienable because the unalienable principles answer to common sense. It's common sense for you to be able to defend yourself. It's common sense for you to have a trial before your people. It's common sense for the state. The 9th and 10th Amendment gives the counties the right to do what they want to, and the 10th Amendment, 9th and 10th Amendment answer to the state and the county have a right to do what they want to do, and because that's where the vote comes in, is the local on the 9th and 10th Amendment. Well, you get somebody like the ACLU, the First Amendment, they're very big on the First Amendment. All right, let's go to the second.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. Some people get to hold arms. Then you get down to the 9th and 10th, they don't want anything to do with that. Because it means that the people of Tennessee, which I personally have witnessed, when I have addressed 91 Tennessee County Commissions, and they voted that they have a right to post the commandments, the ACLU doesn't want that vote. I personally, for 6 years, went from one county to the next and addressed their county commissions. And they voted, and it went through the legislature unanimous, signed by the governor, written by Eric Watson over there in Nashville, in Bradley, and now the sheriff of Bradley. Now we have 35 sheriffs, 35 so far of the 95 that have asked us to come with these displays. We want the 10 Commandments, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights. And so we've been out to places like Alamo where 5 sheriffs gathered together in a prayer meeting, and we gave them these displays. And over there in Bradley County, and down here in Ray County, and all of these counties, up there in Campbell County, get the whole staff out there. We have prayer meeting up in Campbell County. It's a beautiful day. You go up to O'Bine, and you go down to everywhere I've been. We were in Polk County last week, and the sheriff prays the most wonderful prayer.
When you say we, for people who don't know, are you a member of what group? Is it just concerned citizens, or is it?
It's just me and my husband and supporters that know that what we're doing is we don't have any organization. We're not tax exempt. We're not any of that. is with our own money and our time. We've never asked for money. And it's a free will offering to the Lord, and He has vastly blessed it. And so we prepare these displays for sheriffs that want it.
Like the one I saw out front?
No, this one has the 3 documents, and it's framed by a House of 10,000 Frames, Virgil Adams, down in Red Bank. I call him one of the framers of the Constitution.
I know where it is. That's funny. I know where that is, yeah.
And he's a framer of the Constitution. And he frames these wonderful copies for us. Of course, we pay him. But he makes...
I may have to get one.
Oh, yeah. They're very beautiful. They're matted, and it has the 10 Commandments, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights.
That's why these things, this sort of, not activism, but that's why it works, though, because you are taking your own time and money to do it, and you mean, it comes from the heart.
It is the love.
That's why the grassroots type of stuff works.
And that's what the Tea Parties are. They're individuals that have just raised up and said, well, I am worth something. I think that's one thing that the young people must get across is Jesus died for you. It's personal. He made you to be kings and priests in this nation. And it's not that we're lawless, but we have no king but Jesus. And so therefore He gave us this wonderful Constitution and these liberties and these state constitutions. But are we not going to recognize the giver? Endowed by our Creator.
See, that's another thing. People, to me, if I was one of the framers, I would have had to have had some sort of, you can't just have intellect there. There would have had to have been some sort of divine inspiration, to me.
Yes.
And I think that's another thing people have a problem with. They'll argue with that our country was not founded on those principles. When they're it's obvious to me
it's not true.
Yeah.
The Declaration of Independence is laced with Bible, with an appeal to the supreme judge of the world, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The principles that were in the Mayflower Compact, Article 6, Section 1 of our Constitution says all engagements and debts entered into before this Constitution are as valid as under the Confederation. So all those things back there were valid.
You were asking me about what I did, and I was saying, what I did for a profession, but this is kind of something that I feel led to do, where if I know somebody I know that can have an impact on somebody else, and they're sort of a local, like, a lot of we were saying politics is local,
right.
But I think it helps to get these kind of messages out, because a lot of areas seem to have the total influence of just sort of I don't know, I can't even describe, it's degradation or something. It doesn't seem to, there don't seem to be any of these types of influences, so I'm just trying to get, expose.
What you're doing is very valuable. The breakdown of the media, the distrust that the people have of the media, and now the Lord has raised up Facebook, emails, all of these internet. And I know they're full of bad stuff. There's things that you wouldn't want anybody looking at as far as all this advertising that comes in and people trying to be what they should not be. But at the same time, the news is going out from the people. People like you are doing a very valuable service to the public. And I know that people of our caliber, I would say, with humility, we pick through that trash. Delete, but you're going to find a gold.
Right.
Oh, yes. Here's the World War II veterans that have been raised up, for instance, from the work of my daughter-in-law. I mean, it's huge.
And even if just a few people, I'm kind of hoping for that butterfly effect.
Right.
That see this and are inspired by it and say there's still people out there that believe this and think this way and who are actively doing things about it, like you are. And like I was saying, I've heard you on the radio, and it seems like your message doesn't seem to get out sometimes. And that's
they try to cut it off because they're primarily selling alcohol. That's what they're.
Well, it's funny because they kind of claim to be sort of a news, sort of an open source, for lack of a better term, news outlet, but they seem to control the message pretty well.
They do, but at the same time, I will have to say, WGOW has been as far as that goes, they have been fairest with me. I've had to fight for it, and they've made fun of me and had a big time with it. But at least they let me on. Now, WNOX, Howard Hill, he's the biggest controller of all. I mean, you talk about getting through hoops. He's sorry. As far as
don't get me wrong. I'm glad to have WGOW because I think we do have a unique experience here in Chattanooga. I think.
Yeah.
In the area, with that, they do a really good job. It's just I do get frustrated because it seems like one side has a big voice and the other has a small voice.
Oh, they want to intimidate people like us, and they use us to keep the war going back and forth. If people like us were to stop calling, it would die. They know they have to have that resistance to make it interesting to the people.
Right, but I wish it wasn't looked at as sort of entertainment instead of information. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, like you're saying, they'll poke fun or they'll, it seems like they're doing that for their own benefit.
But it doesn't work because the truth will always out.
That's true.
After a little while, you get tired of cotton candy for a while. After a while, it's all right for just one day, but you're looking for some meat. And I've had
bacon.
I can't tell you how many people that I've met out that said thank you for trying, thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate you keeping on. I know, when the press used huge, awful means to shut down our commission over that sodomy issue. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember it vaguely.
It was horrible what they did to this county, who barely wanted to do what was normal. And they came in here like a flood from all over the place. And
for those who don't remember, they wanted to pass. Didn't they want to pass like a resolution or something against it, or what was that?
Now, what we were going to do, what the resolution had to do was with recriminalizing sodomy, which has always been against the law, and they were going to recriminalize it. The reason that the sodomy statute was brought into play was so these perverts could get on TennCare, because you couldn't be a criminal and get on TennCare. I defended God and the Bible in the Tennessee sodomy case, and I was allowed to argue as a citizen before the court. And yes, the Tennessee Court of Appeals, I argued oral arguments, and the issue has to do with TennCare, which we know now, the national issue. It's not a matter of two women getting married. It's getting on the check.
So what came of that? I forgot the outcome.
Of the resolution?
Uh-huh.
Well, the press forced them to back down.
Okay. Yep.
And they came in here and took over our park, and Jeff Stiles and his company made that horrible record, a song about me. And
that's the kind of thing that I think is not. There's no journalistic integrity to that.
No.
That's kind of what I'm talking about.
That's right.
I like Jeff and I like all the other guys, but they do tend to. They won't be poking fun at Islam or any other religions anytime soon. But they take a good opportunity to poke fun at you and other people. Like that. But
that was terrible what they did to our county. That was a vote of the people of Ray County, and they trounced the vote. And that's one of the reasons I told Jeff I never want to be in his presence. To go against the 9th and 10th Amendment to the Bill of Rights and do what they did to this county was unconstitutional. It was tyrannical.
One thing that just occurred to me is that we are in Dayton, Tennessee, which is the site of the monkey trial, right? And so people have a tendency to. The other thing I hear is that these types of things are what come out of rural counties or whatever. That's another thing that kind of bothers me. That maybe it's true. Maybe the rural counties are where the principles are still held. I don't know.
They are. Remember the vote by the people of Tennessee to stand up for their right to post the 10 Commandments, the Declaration, and all of our documents. That was the vote that these counties took. 88 of the 95 counties voted that they have that right. This means that the people of Tennessee still stand for the foundations. That was a vote by their county commissions. Only one county voted against it. Only one. 6 tabled it for
Was
zero.
that Davidson or
Williamson.
Williamson? That's not Nashville, is it?
It's south of Nashville.
Yeah, south. Okay.
And it's the 8th richest county in the country.
Right.
But I feel like screaming at the people. You don't understand. Tennessee still stands for the foundations. They're represented through their county commissions. Now the cities are another thing. The cities are nothing but an arm of the municipal league. Cities are just a corporate mess.
Right.
And they're turning into a party center that will end up in debauchery.
Party center is a good term, I think.
It's a party center.
Yeah.
What are you going to do Friday, Saturday night?
Yeah.
Well, when I grew up in
you know what? I thought you were talking about political party center.
well, but I mean
That
that's,
too, yeah.
that's just the party. You got to
Oh, I
get
got you.
everything.
Yeah.
All the parties going.
Yeah.
You know, the River Bend and all that.
Oh,
Whereas
yeah.
Chattanooga was an industrial city. I grew up in Chattanooga, and on Sunday you didn't find anything open.
Oh, I remember my mother taking me across the Walnut Street Bridge to go downtown to pay the light bill.
Yeah.
She called it the light bill.
Yeah.
And I remember the bridge shaking and
Yeah.
looking up across the skyline and seeing all the smog, and you know we were an industrial town.
It was industrial and good people.
Yeah, good people.
Good people, and it was a godly town. The preachers preached, and when if there came up a vote about liquor, you can forget it. There was one liquor store down there on South Market, and I think there was one on up there next to the bridge, but you didn't drink liquor. In Chattanooga, there were fountains. They had fountains dedicated to temperance. And all over Chattanooga, there's those locations called the temperance fountains.
I didn't know that.
That's right.
See, this is the kind of history I'm
And
interested in.
I think that someday those fountains are going to spurt up again. But the women of the WCTU put those fountains there. And they were dedicated to temperance.
Do they still exist? Is that what you're saying?
You can't find them. You won't find any historians talking about those. I don't know that Fountain Square is not one of them.
Right.
I suspect Fountain Square was one of them.
The little where the little firemen shooting water out of the hose.
No, that's up there at the courthouse.
Oh, that's
There's-
right. Yeah.
It's called Fountain Square. It's down there on Georgia Avenue,
Oh yeah.
right where Georgia 9th meet. But there's another thing in Nashville, Tennessee. When you start up the step to the Capitol building, there is Lem Motlow statue, you know, Jack Daniels. On the back of his statue is a plaque put there by the women of the WCTU. Right on his back, which were for temperance.
Huh.
And they had the last word
Huh.
when it comes
That's
to
a virtue you don't really hear about anymore.
Oh,
Temperance.
the Prohibition movement in Tennessee. I talked to the lady who was the head of the WCTU, Miss Williams. She was 90 years old. She remembers, and she said you could leave your doors open. Crime dropped to 0 in Tennessee. When they had prohibition, it was the most wonderful, peaceable time.
But isn't that that's another one of those hard to justify where you have government regulating something. I mean, I know it's one of those personal issues, you know, we don't want people, but isn't that like, you know, I'm just wondering too about how we justify government control over a substance.
Government has to restrict sin. That's part of the. If you look in early documents, government is to restrain sin, and that's why those 10 Commandments, they're to be a restrainer of sin.
I just thought our laws were based on those morals, and then, you know, then the government was supposed to enforce the laws.
But the law is
Yeah.
based in that 10 Commandments,
Right.
which is Jesus said, which is loving your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
And for these merchants, for anybody to be so sorry as to make their money on destroying the life of somebody, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Those people that deal in alcohol, they don't care about you. And so those principles of really what does it do, will you sell anything? So then it broke down to where it was area, you know, like cities would vote out alcohol. or counties would
Right.
vote out alcohol.
Right.
But-
And I guess just here recently, Tennessee has allowed grocery stores to sell wine. Of course, there's a 2-year moratorium or whatever. But
That's a sign of debauchery.
yeah,
That is a sign of debauchery. But there again, you go with the cities. The cities are becoming more and more corrupt. But our main focus, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, there are many people that say this is the last election we'll ever have. And
do you have a prediction as to who you think might win, or who you want to win?
I have no. My hope is in God's mercy. We have his picture here.
What did you call him?
Theodore, Father of Lies. He's going to do so much good with everyone else's money, and started the first national insurance company called Social Security that we're trying to dig out from under it now. This store was started by my son and his wife, who wanted it to be a family business, and then he was going to have his garage back here, but he found he makes more money in the back valley than he did here in Dayton, so I told him I would be the guardian and the perpetuation of the furniture we sell. And there again, I have people coming in, they say, we like old furniture because it's better quality.
Right.
Some of the new stuff now is all plastic or it's, press board. And so we're looking for something that has some substance
Right.
to it.
Yeah.
And so that's what they find.
It's rare to find
the
furniture
store.
that's made of solid wood
Right.
anymore.
Yeah. She said, where did you get all those? I said, just yard sales, estate sales, wherever I could pick one up. She said, I'm from Canada. And she said, my husband and I, he's a pastor. And there's a man in Canada that makes these in his garage and gives them away by the truckloads. And so we have been involved in distributing these all over the country.
Huh.
And she said, we load up our van with all of these scriptures and we give them away. Isn't that interesting?
That's neat.
And this man out in his garage up in Canada is turning out these scriptures so people can be convicted and be saved. And I thought that was so wonderful for her to come in here.
And what's this little display here?
That's something that was given to me. It's just brochures, you might say, from early Dayton stores and
that's
businesses that were in Dayton, Tennessee during the Scopes trial and during that period of time. They had a shoe store, they had a department store. It was a town. It was a nice little town. I love these. They go on the steering wheel back there in the 50s before we got so regulated. And you put this on the steering wheel and man, it makes your car turn around on a dime.
Wow.
You just
You said
install
it's called the suicide?
suicide knob. And the reason they called it that was because a lot of times you turn it and hurt your finger, hurt your hand. They outlawed them, of course.
Why did they outlaw those?
I do not know. This is something to control, I guess. But I think there's 3 of those.
Did you see them mainly on trucks or was it on their own
Trucks,
cars?
automobiles had them. Like old 46 Ford, you had and you can turn your car so easy with them. But somebody probably sued over it and you got their elbow hurt or something. I don't know. Yeah. This is from the Daughters of the American Revolution. My ancestor was Valentine Crawford Jr., who was with George Washington every day. He fought with him in the French and Indian War and in the Revolution. And his brother, Ben Crawford, was slaughtered by the Indians. And there's a statue. They tortured him for 24 hours. And he finally died. There's a statue up in Ohio of Ben Crawford. The Crawfords, Crawford, Texas, named after the Crawford family. And, that's where George Bush had his place. But there's 2 books about these Crawfords. And my ancestor is Valentine Crawford Jr., who kept George Washington's acres. So I guess you might say he was probably there, had family at Valley Forge. And I guess I'm still keeping Washington's acreage
That's neat.
in a sense.
HR 107.
HJR 107, House Joint Resolution 107. It was also adopted by the Senate, and it's the Christian history of Tennessee.
Oh, that's neat. I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, and that was the law that was changed. Now it's a law that you can post the commandments. It's just wonderful.
Well, Gene, I want to thank you for this interview. Again, I just think, people need to be preserved. I think you're one of those people. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and may God bless everything that you do. And I know how hard it is to do all this technical. My husband likes to do a lot of this kind of thing and has done it, and it's very hairy, cutting this
right.
and making it do well. But God bless you with it.
Thanks again.